To another edition of Inside the Hash's special coverage of the 2021 Senior Bowl. On my right over here, I have all three of my football experts sitting beside me. I got LaMarcus Bailey over here. I got Jack Rapp over there, and I got Mr. Christopher Thomas all the way at the end. How you doing, everybody?
We're doing great, man. It was good.
Guys, today was one heck of a day for the Senior Bowl today. Most media only stay for the practice and for the observations. The true gritty guys stay for the actual game day that we saw today. And I just want to, gauge your thoughts a little bit about what you saw today. Big plays, big moments, anyone that really stood out to you. Marcus, I want to ask you, man, what was a big moment you saw today that really, impacted you?
Man, one of the big plays I saw today was a long 29-yard completion to Des Fitzpatrick. He went up, high-pointed the ball on the sideline over North Carolina Central's Brian Mills. And so, he was able to get the ball tucked and actually get an extra few yards. So, to see a play like that from Des Fitzpatrick, who was one of my standout guys, it was pretty cool to see.
We'll be getting to our standout guys in a big Jack. Man, you were on the camera side of the operation, so you got quite a closer look at what was going on. More than a lot of us could say, man. What did you see down there that maybe we couldn't get a good view?
Well, for big play aspect, for me, DeMar Hamlin's interception, that was something that I really like to see, especially in a safety, getting a guy who can read a tip drill, get a pick off of it, change the field position. That's really important. Something that I kind of got to see on the sideline was all the players really interacting with each other. You got to see the guys who were more vocal, guys who were, really amping up their team throughout the whole thing. And there were a couple of guys, we can go down the list of guys who just really stood out for being vocal as just players and leaders.
I know one guy that was being vocal throughout practice was a safety, San Diego State kid, Hall.
Yeah. Hall was being really vocal today as well. He's doing all the call-outs for all the defenses when he was on there. And that's just something that I think impresses me and probably impresses a lot of scouts as well.
Character does show, especially at the Senior Bowl. Chris Thomas, what did you see from where we were perched? You and I were sitting together over in the media stands. What could you gauge from what you were seeing?
Yeah, the game kind of started off slow at the beginning, but then when the second half started to come around, everybody starting to get, more rhythm. The game really began to pick up, and the game started to become a lot more closer. The one thing I really did like is technically it was a home game for South Alabama's Riley Cole, and every single time you hear him make a tackle, you can pretty much hear the home crowd, just chanting. He probably got the loudest chants today, probably outside of probably the "We Want Mac" chants. Certain Alabama fans were chanting when Jamie Newman went in. But overall, it was basically like his last home game. So the fact that, they were playing, at South Alabama Stadium, he was able to show out, get several key tackles, in front of his home crowd. I think that's definitely something that is definitely going to, build upon, him going into the draft.
A 27-24 win for the national team. Brian Flores walking out here, the winning coach. But in reality, for the pro coaches, at least, there's no winners or losers. There's only analysis and takeaways, especially when we're coming to standouts and letdowns, which will be one of our biggest topics of the day, which is who stood out in the Senior Bowl, who was a letdown in the Senior Bowl. And I want to throw it over first to our scout expert, Mr. Jack Rattler, with his standout player of the day.
My standout player of the day, guy who definitely was Best Name Award, Divine Diablo. He really put on a show today. He had 6 total tackles, 5 solo. He was flying to the ball pretty much the entire game, start to finish, that he was allowed to be in there. Divine's going to be more of a tweener player. He's going to play linebacker, safety hybrid, more in-the-box safety, something that's going to be becoming a very important position in today's NFL with all those tight ends and big, ginormous X receivers that the league's putting out there. So that was the guy that really was a standout to me.
I know that one comparison a couple of people have been making for him have been Isaiah Simmons, a little bit of maybe Baker, both on the same team.
Yeah.
Funny enough. Would you say that those are accurate?
I would say more of a Cam Chancellor kind of player. Oh, I'm going there. I'm saying the potential, the size, big-bodied safety. It could be, just pick a big-bodied safety. Isaiah Simmons is a really good option, honestly, for a size comparison for the two.
Yeah, I think definitely it'll be more of a box guy for sure. I don't see him I don't see him ever being that deep. I think
Yeah.
he'll gain some weight. He'll become a smarter player, and a team will be able to use him. I think more so close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I think if he gains some weight, that would definitely probably be the best thing for him in his interest is to just put on a couple extra pounds and then be able to play better in the box
For sure.
as a coverage linebacker.
For sure.
Chris, I know you had a safety in your time, Mr. Brian Dawkins, over with the Eagles. Can you feel that kind of energy coming out of Diablo? Can he really bring hell onto the field?
I definitely think he can. I think the one thing that a lot of these safeties, coming out of college, is definitely bigger body safeties are much more hard hitting guys. So I could definitely see, Diablo will definitely be more like, not more like, what Cam Chancellor meant for Legion of Boom. He's going to have that impact, and wherever he goes, he's going to make the new LOB. But, just a tone setter. Every defense needs a tone setter, a guy that, sets the tone, gets everybody else going, gets that momentum swing. I definitely think he can be able to do that.
And speaking of defense on the side of the ball, I know you had your standout player, I think, along the defensive line, Janoris Robinson, I think it was. Right?
Absolutely. I think in terms of this game, the front sevens on both sides were definitely able to showcase themselves properly. Not a lot of ability to run the ball outside of probably Michael Carter. But yeah, Janoris Robinson is probably one of my favorite players this week, probably my favorite player in defense this week. Out of Florida State, 6'5". He's a big kid. And they only had 2 sacks on his side of the ball, but 1.5 definitely came from him. So I like what I saw, and whatever team is definitely going to draft him, they're definitely going to be getting a gem during the mid rounds.
And the front seven especially has been just such kind of a standout class here at the Senior Bowl, especially when it came to the running game today. Absolutely shut down the running game outside of Michael Carter for both teams. LaMarcus, what do you think of Janoris Robinson's performance? Did it compare better or worse to maybe Patrick Jones, for example?
Janoris Robinson has definitely made the most noise. I think a big part of the Senior Bowl week is being able to stand out, make a name for yourself. Because his name was called so many times, I think that, his performance definitely spoke for itself. I think he'll definitely be a player who rises his stock, so to speak.
Yeah, between him having really good practices, him definitely getting the better of several times with Alabama, potential first-round pick Alex Leatherwood, the glowing endorsement that Boogie Bashers also had, during his post-game interview. And, this game was, getting a sack and a half, definitely outshining, pretty much his teammates, other like Cam Sample, also on the defensive line. I think this is definitely a good case where he actually improved his draft stock.
Jack, quick pro comparison that you can give for Robinson when watching him.
Oh, that is a good question. The issue with a pro comp there, in my personal opinion, is that edge rushers that big are hard to come by. And they are very hard to find in the league. I mean, the guy is ginormous. If you look at him on the field, he's 2 to 3 inches taller than the other people on the field, who are also very large human beings in and of themselves. So a pro comparison, I mean, you just find me a 6'4" edge rusher, and I would love to give you a pro comp for him.
I'll give you 6'8" on the Ravens, Calais Campbell.
Yeah, Calais Campbell. I mean, the man that sounds like the moon when he talks. Love that man so much. He is a character. He's a character. He sounds like the moon. If you would envision a person talking like the moon, it's Calais Campbell.
Well, we're focusing a lot on the defensive side of the ball right here for player standouts. Let's go a little more on the offensive side. And I know, LaMarcus, you really had a wide receiver standout for you today.
Man, did I? Des Fitzpatrick coming to this practice on Thursday. It was actually one of the guys I was like, I would definitely want to see what Des can do.
Yeah, he said something about that yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
For sure. And after just watching, after watching him in practice, I was like, I want to see more of this guy. And so today definitely showed me that Des Fitzpatrick can do everything that you need him to do. He's 6'2", 200 and about 10 to 15 pounds. I think he'll play around 215. I think that his size is deceptive, but his ability allows him to, use his frame to the maximum potential. He's able to catch at the highest point. He's able to make contested catches, and he's also able to toe drag. He had a great play today, actually, early in the game where he's able to toe drag and actually make a big play against Fawu. So he displayed that he can be sure-handed, he can run good routes, and he can actually make plays when they're needed.
100%.
Jack, I know that being so close to the action, can you tell me which toe drag swag that we saw out there was much better executed, which is Drake and Patrick, or maybe even Powell's toe dash swag on the back shoulder catch that he had.
Oh, 100%. It's going to be Fitzpatrick. It's going to be Dre. It's going to be that Louisville wide receiver. That man, that was perfect. That was like NFL taught toe drag. I mean, I know Marcus said it, but the ability of that man to be able to use his frame already at this age, it's setting him up for success in the league. I mean, there's not going to be much coaching that's going to have to be under body control or anything like that.
Man, he's one of the few players that I saw actually stay in the entire game.
Yeah.
Like, he really came off the field, and you could tell that the coaches really wanted to continue to see him. He proved that he can be consistent. A lot of players will get in, make a couple of plays, and they'll sit out the rest of the game.
Yeah.
But with Fitzpatrick, he was able to show that over the course of an entire game, he can be a go-to guy, and I think that he could be a guy that can have a great NFL career.
I mean, to me, the fact that he stayed in the entire game, that means that coaching staff wants to see him play.
They want to see him play,
which means they probably want to draft him.
Exactly.
You don't have a player.
Which brings me to this, like I know, like Devontae Smith couldn't play today. He's probably not being the number one wide receiver, probably in this class. Jamar Chase might be competing for that top spot, but like for the guys that actually played, like Tony, like Darby, Chris especially, like Fitzpatrick basically outperformed all of them.
Oh, absolutely. When I look at the stats, 6 catches, 90 yards, the big catch was obviously, that Moss that he had on Brian Mills. And he got targeted 11 times, which is nearly twice more than anybody else on his team. The only person that actually comes close was 6 targets by Frank Darby. But everything about him was good. The route running was good, even in places in which he didn't get targeted. He got a really good release on the line. I really felt like one of the quarterbacks was able to, just throw outside the numbers. He probably got like a deep bomb, for a touchdown. The one thing I didn't like, he did have 2 drops because he already was looking up the field and turning up the field before he secured the catch. But that's an easy thing that you can fix. That's more of a mental thing. But overall, I like what I saw, and he's definitely showcased that he was wide receiver 1 for the national team today. And whatever team that he's going to be going to, he definitely shows that he could be a wide receiver 1 in the NFL.
Quick pro comparison that you can give for Fitzpatrick?
Well, my pro comparison personally was Amari Cooper. I know some people look at that as a stretch, but I think as a route runner, he's definitely a young route runner, but has the ability to continue to refine that.
Yeah, that body control that Amari Cooper had coming out of college was one of those things that made you go wow on tape. So
yeah,
I can see that comparison.
For sure, yeah. And so, with Dez, he's able to, showcase he can do everything at that size. I think he can be better than Amari Cooper. He'll be able to,
spicy.
Yeah, I think he'll be able to develop into a better guy because he'll be able to, consistently be that number 1 and won't have any, down years or
I think, definitely the biggest thing for him about his game is definitely the body control. So I kind of see more of a Calvin Ridley, really good route runner, really good body control. Probably not as fast as probably Calvin Ridley, but
not that size.
Yeah, not that size.
Let me ask this. Let's say further down his career, we're going to analyze it. Could he become the better Dez come out into the NFL? We have Dez Bryant as a wide receiver, tough wide receiver for the Cowboys.
I could see the potential. I could definitely see that potential there. Kind of with everything in the draft, you never know what you get until you get him in the facility. But I can see the potential.
He's a day 1 starter.
Yeah, 100% a day 1 starter, which is crazy because of how deep this receiver class is. The fact that Dez is probably going to be the 10th or 11th receiver taken, and he's already proven, maybe even earlier, I don't know, but there's at least going to be 3 taken before him, and he's a day 1 starter that you can get 4th, 5th, 6th receiver in the draft. That's just an insanely deep class.
Jack previewing our next segment coming in a bit, but we're not just finished here yet, ladies and gentlemen, because while there are risers and there are people that stand out, there are also letdowns. But in this case, we here at Inside the Hash is kind of all agree on who the letdown for today's game was. And it was actually, a guy that we saw on tape a couple of days ago when analyzing Dez Fitzpatrick, which is Oregon safety Thomas Graham Jr. Jack, quick breakdown for what you saw from Graham today.
Graham, there were a couple of things, and I think we're each going to touch on a little bit. But the big thing for me was that he had really big issues in coverage in the slot, especially against a lot of shifty routes. That was a really big issue for him. It was just kind of surprising that he was our letdown. I remember we were watching the ESPN coverage of the practice a day late, and we saw Todd McShay had Thomas Graham at like 243 on his big board, and all of us just went, "What? Like that's how? Like that doesn't make sense." And then I guess he's right. I mean, he has been doing this for a long time, but it was kind of surprising to all of us that he was our left end.
Now, Chris, I know that like a lot of like today was a day that DBs did not look exceptionally well today. Mills did not look great against certain coverages. So like, why with Graham especially was it so hard, either in the slant or on the outside coverage? Why was it so hard for him to try to compete against his receivers?
Well, we just need to remind ourselves that he was also going against Amari Rodgers, and Amari Rodgers looks a lot of people bad. But overall, from what I saw, is that most often than not, when he lined up in the slot, he was playing off coverage. He never really got an opportunity to play press or like get his hands on anybody. So once the initial routes began, he never really got in a position in which you would like your corners to be in order to make plays, and that's why Amari was able to get behind him on the touchdown and on the 2-point conversion. Once you're a corner, you need to really get your hands on him or like be able to track him. Once you're playing off coverage like that, it's kind of hard for cornerbacks to recover because you don't know, because you got to keep backtracking in case they want to run by you. But like if you keep backtracking, they're just going to kill you underneath. If you try to play up, then they're going to take you up the top.
Yeah, for sure. I think in order for Thomas Graham to continue to elevate his gameplay, his technique needs to be the focus. I think he's a smart player, cerebral guy, so that technique is something that will take him to the next level. Like you said, like you mentioned, him playing press coverage, he didn't get to do it. The one time I did see him play press coverage on Thursday against Patrick, and that resulted in a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I think definitely not being able to show his other aspects. One positive about him was that I saw him come up on a couple of runs and make some good tackles. So it shows that he's not afraid to come up and make tackles when necessary.
I also saw him stay positive a lot today. Like I mean, as a person that played safety when I played football for a very limited amount of time, albeit it sucks when someone beats you repeatedly. And that guy, he did not have a good outing today. So it was really good for him to have a good mindset.
And as a cornerback, out of all the players on the field, you got to have the shortest memory.
Yeah.
So like you got to be next play up, no matter how bad you're going out or how good you are. Don't harp on one bad play. Don't harp on one good play because you got to go right back at it.
And it seems like he has that. Short-term memory mindset.
Yeah.
So
Marcus, you being the one here that has like the closest to pro experience in terms of the DB position, especially, what would you do to try to help correct Graham's technique or strength, or to try to get him to kind of improve going into maybe his pro day workouts or even getting ready for a camp?
Man, reps. That's pretty much it. Watching reps, watching your own reps, and then watching other defensive backs that you admire, you want to look up to, because at the end of the day, it's on film. Everything that he wants to see or wants to go into is put on film. So that's all you have to do. Luckily, that just have to train and watch film.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to be important because a lot of teams are going to be watching a lot of film from you today, not just from the game day, but from practice sessions too. And that's going to determine a lot of these guys' draft stock going in, which brings us into draft grades going up or going down. Who is going to be seeing a day one, early day two pick, and who's going to be falling a little bit behind maybe on day two or day three? And I want to start off with LaMarcus on that one first. Who is your stock riser?
Stock riser. The guys mentioned Michael Carter. That's the guy who I think.
Let's take my guy. I see how it is.
But Michael Carter. But I would say on the deep side of the ball, someone I really watched. Keith Taylor Jr. Definitely a good defensive back. Although he gave up a touchdown, I think that him being able to be consistent throughout the game, he shows that at 6'3", 195 pounds, that he was definitely a physical guy who was able to still be sticky. He reminds me a lot of Jalen Ramsey. I know some people think that's kind of out there. He's not a versatile inside slot guy who can play everywhere. But him being so big, fast, and physical, and still having that base, that fundamental. I think it allows him to stay with any guy.
Jack, you said that so Keith hasn't had an interception in his entire college career. The last one was his senior year of high school. But you pointed out earlier when we were talking that a DB shouldn't worry about turnovers, should we worry about pass deflections?
Yeah, I mean, yes, their job is. I mean, it's great if you get an interception. That's awesome. But your job is to cover a wide receiver. If you get lucky and you get an interception, that's great. But you need to worry about what your target rate is and what the completion percentage on that target rate is. Because I know it. I mean, yes, an interception will be great every play, but it's not going to happen, especially in the pros. Those guys are professionals for a reason. But if you can have it to where Jalen Ramsey, for example, we researched this yesterday, 51%, if you round up, 51% completion rate on his targets last year.
And how many pass interference? He only had what, 4?
He had 4 pass interferences all year.
Six altogether.
Yeah.
6 altogether, and that's insane.
If he is able to have 50% of the passes that get thrown to him be incomplete, that's a great corner. You don't even care about the interceptions at that point. You will get fumbles or something.
Chris, where do you see Keith Taylor, going into the draft in terms of day 2, day 1 pick? Who do you think will take him in that draft?
My thing is that to keep going on to Jack's point, interceptions really don't matter because when you look at a guy like Byron Jones, who got a $70 million 5-year deal with Miami, his job wasn't to get interceptions; it was to pretty much shut down the other side. And once you saw, Byron Jones able to do that, we saw Xavier Howard get a first double-digit interception for a cornerback that hasn't literally happened in nearly
10 years.
10 years.
Antonio Cromartie in 2010.
Yeah.
So in regards to that, I definitely see him as a potential, second, third round pick. And a lot of people need corners. When you look at, the rule changes, in terms of wide receivers and everything, you're going to need guys who not much get turnovers, but just make sure that they, keep their guy in line. Honestly, a perfect spot for me is possibly the Green Bay Packers. Kevin King's a free agent. You already got Jair Alexander on the other side locking things down. So I think, bringing, Keith Taylor on, to, alleviate Jair Alexander, and you could lose Kevin King in free agency. I think that's a perfect fit.
Yeah. I mean, to keep going with that free agency topic, anyone, pick a team. Anyone needs corners, and a team with big corners that they need. Dan Quinn just got brought to the Cowboys as their DC. He loves big corners. That is his thing. That is literally the pride of his defense. Cover 3 with 6-foot plus corners. So you just have fun.
I know that we're going to be talking about DBs for as long as we can, but you had a running back as your draft riser, Jack, didn't you?
Yes, Michael Carter. I love this man. He is amazing. I want him on the Saints because that is my team. It's not going to happen because we don't draft normally. We draft sporadically.
You also have Alvin Kamara and
Latavius Murray.
Yeah, you have a good rotation.
Hey, okay, a man can dream.
You got Taysom Hill.
Okay, don't. I don't need to hear this.
Well, hold on.
He's a quarterback.
Well, Marcus, you mentioned Michael Carter earlier in today when you were making your pick. Why did Carter stand out for you?
Man, Michael Carter. So when Jack did his film breakdown, he said one of the biggest things that he noticed about Michael Carter was a power, right?
Yeah, he was able to run inside.
So he actually displayed that during the game where he was actually able to break off a big run where he got through the middle, hurdled the guy, and broke to the outside. So just seeing him display what Jack said that team wanted to see, and another play, him dragging the entire team back to the zone. He displayed that he's fast, he's shifty, he's powerful,
and only 5'8".
And only 5'8". So it's a big package in the. It's a big package in the. A big player in a small package.
Yeah, there you go.
And Chris, where would you kind of grade Carter right now? A lot of scouts had him as a mid to late second round pick, but can he shoot up late into the first round?
Late first round, it kind of depends on the need, but definitely after Najee Harris and Travis from Clemson, I definitely see him as a running back 3 in this draft.
Yeah, him and his teammate from North Carolina, Javon Williams, those two guys are going to be fighting each other literally for that third running back spot.
And also you got to remember that only one running back was taken last year in the first round, and that was literally the last pick of the draft, Clyde Edwards-Helaire by the Chiefs. So I definitely see him as potentially like a day 2 pick.
Yeah, Jack, I know you said you want him on your Saints, but let's move off the dream for a minute and tell me who do you think he's an actual fit for?
Oh man, who is he an actual fit for? Oh jeez, who needs running back help? And you just find a team that needs running back depth because that's what he's going to provide. He's going to provide you with a pass catcher, a third down back, and that can be any team high to low, depending on where he ends up falling in the draft. If he's there in the early third, the Texans might be calling. I mean, that's a perfect spot for him. David Johnson's getting older. they need weapons of all types. He would be a great fit there. To me personally, in that new
I like the fit for like the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah,
Well, Arthur Smith coming in, they're going to try to be more run centric. Todd Gurley is only on a 1-year deal, but I don't think he's definitely going to be resigned, especially after the season he had. And they're definitely going to need somebody, a new fresh blood in there.
This is a random. What about the Panthers?
I think the Panthers have a young guy. They have a young running back.
Yeah, I know Christian McCaffrey. He's been getting hurt a lot, and they didn't have a replacement for him.
They have a guy, Rodney Smith.
Yeah,
Rodney Smith out of Minnesota. He's a guy who had a very good and promising Minnesota career. He had some injuries, but now that he has actually made it through the entire season still on the roster, it's going to be interesting to see into later in the season like there. So I think going into the next season, I think he'll be a guy.
Also, the Miami Dolphins, the team that was also at the Senior Bowl, they don't really have a clear-cut number one running back or really just a running back that they can rely on because of the amount of injuries that they've gotten over this past season, even though he went 10-6. So I can definitely see Michael Carter being potential Senior Bowl pick. Maybe just that transaction just might make the Dolphins.
I'll throw one more team into that mix: the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially a good team that they could fit. James Conner is not the answer over there. Neither is Benny Snell. Over what they're trying to run. They want a power, consistent game, which is what the Steelers have always been known for. I think Carter might be a great fit over in the Steel City. And I know you want to add.
Yeah. I would disagree because the Steelers are not people that move on from players very quickly. They draft, they will hold on to you, and they're going to find out what they got in Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. And they spent 2 pretty decently high picks on those guys. I believe both of them were third rounders, if I'm not mistaken. I do need to double check myself. Yeah,
he slid for sure.
Yeah, I mean, both of those guys they want to keep those guys. So I really don't think the Steelers would draft a running back again. And if they do, their fans are going to explode. So
and that brings us to our final stock riser here for today, Chris. Who was your stock riser? And also, just to add into your points, Steelers just got McFarland over the draft too.
Not really much stock riser, more like stock faller. We were talking about this earlier when we were watching the game. Frank Darby, I don't think this game was really a good showcase to him for him to rise and stop. He got 6 targets today. He only had 1 catch, which was the big 22-yard catch from Brian Mills. But after that, I saw 3 straight drops from him. One was a sideline catch where he did make it, but he couldn't just complete the process, and then another back-to-back drops on the following series. I don't think this was a really good game for him. But I like what I saw. He's able to get open, and but overall, this game was just bad for him.
Yeah. I think on offense, the game was bad for a lot of players.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree the drops big problem. You can't be dropping a football.
If your job is 3 drops in a row for Darby.
Yes. If your job is to catch a football, you can't be dropping a football. But yeah, the quarterback play today was not helping him out at all.
Yeah. And but as far as stock risers, definitely Kellen Mond.
Yeah.
I think possibly after Mac Jones, even though he didn't play, Kellen Mond, especially after the week he had, and this game, 13-25, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He really began to pick it up in the second half. To get the American team back into the game. I definitely see him potentially as possibly like a 4th or 5th round pick, and something as a project. He's not going to be a day 1 starter. He's definitely a guy that needs to be in the system in a while for him to get comfortable.
Also, Dolphins have small running backs. They need a bigger back for the case of Michael Carter making it there. It's good, fair point, Jerome. Fair point. Marcus, I know you're doing a quick piece on Kellen Mond right now. With your evaluation of him, 4th, 5th round pick, has he made it maybe go up to 3?
Man, it's difficult. I think he's a very good player, but unfortunately, the draft for quarterbacks this year is going to be kind of wait and see. Want to see where Trey Lance falls. You want to see where Mac Jones. So after Mac Jones, I think Kellen Mond as a quarterback, he can definitely develop into a really good quarterback. I think a system would be his best bet starting off as a rookie. If he could fit into the system as a rookie, I think he could definitely see some playing time and perform. I think he has that type of ability, but I think it would definitely take a system to support him for sure.
I also think there's preseason this year, which I hope they will. I think everybody hopes they will, especially draft guys, that we're able to see him in a system and actually playing in an NFL system to see how he works in that system. I think that would be a really big benefit for him and that team that drafts him as well.
Jack, I'm going to give you like 4 quarterbacks that either played or practiced here in Mobile, and I want you to tell me which one you think will come out looking better or worse coming into the draft. Ian Book, Kellen Mond, Mac Jones, and finally Jimmy G.
Mac Jones is the best out of those 4, definitely. He didn't play today, unfortunately. He had a leg injury that he was dealing with. But he's definitely going to be the one that's going to come out of this looking the best just because of the numbers he was able to put up at Alabama. Someone's going to fall in love with the numbers and take him either in the first round or the second round. Mond has definitely improved his stock a lot. And then Ian Book and Jamie Newman both, to me, had really rough days today. I mean, Jamie Newman was struggling a lot. Today.
He was sacked on back-to-back plays.
Definitely with Newman. His biggest issue, although the stat line, it says 10 for 14, right? It doesn't tell the entire story.
Yes.
A lot of those completions came from checkdowns late in the game. So not to take away from him, but I think that his decision making is very delayed.
Yes, very.
He's delayed.
Yeah,
it's a slow reaction time.
Slow reaction time. He doesn't step into the pocket. If he does, it's into a defender, and he seems kind of nervous in the pocket. And I mean, I can understand he's spending a week with this O-line, but at the end of the day, the name of the game is not to play. You're a quarterback.
Yeah, and slow decision time in the NFL is the worst thing you can do as a quarterback.
Definitely. Dangerous.
So
Jamie Newman definitely very disappointing after a great first practice according to Jerome, as he's telling us right now. But looking kind of like who was coaching on the sidelines, especially you had the Panthers and you had the Dolphins there getting a first look at this senior draft class right here. I kind of want to ask you guys. We'll start with the Dolphins. Just really quick, start with the Dolphins and the Panthers. Who do you think they're going to be eyeing going into the draft? Later in April. LaMarcus, who do you think made the Dolphins' radar?
Man, the Dolphins. I would say that.
I mean, I said Michael Carter earlier for the back.
Yeah, I would say Michael Carter for sure. There's a lot of different guys. What they need to really look at. Like I said, Des Fitzpatrick played the most the entire game, right?
Yeah.
So both sides are looking at him, right? Both sides are looking at him. He stayed the game the entire time.
Yeah. Just to continue on the Des Fitzpatrick train that all of us are apparently aboard. Exactly. The Dolphins need weapons.
Yes.
A lot of weapons.
Yeah.
They need as many weapons as they can possibly bring in, whether that's through throwing money at free agents or drafting them.
Devontae Parker's not a wide receiver 1 in that system.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Devontae Parker's your wide receiver 1 and your wide receiver 2 is
Des Fitzpatrick.
There it is.
Des can turn into number 1.
Oh, yeah, he can develop, and then you just have to pay Deontay Parker that third contract. I mean, that is just smart business in the NFL. So I think, any weapon that you saw on the national team today play a lot of minutes, play a lot of snaps, those guys are going to be the ones that they're definitely looking at in the draft.
What about you, Chris? What about defense on the defensive side of the ball for Miami? Anyone that they could really look for?
On the defensive side of Miami, to be honest, I really can't think of it. I think their defense is solid as is. The secondary is really good. They're really good at getting at the pass rusher. But honestly, I feel like definitely Janaris Robinson is definitely a perfect fit for him. Because of the size, he definitely is a lot more fitted to being a 3-4 defensive end as opposed to a standard 4-3. So him being in there to complement that front seven, I think it's definitely the cherry on top for Brian Flores' defense.
Let's go over now to the Carolina Panthers sideline. We both know they're in the market for a quarterback. They put in inquiries on Matthew Stafford and on Deshaun Watson, both good trade destinations for the two. But they could be looking into the draft, late in the draft at least, for a signal caller. Jack, is there anyone in the Senior Bowl that could maybe answer those prayers on defense? Miami can go pass rusher for sure, according to Jerome. They could possibly go pass rusher over there, especially on the edges. But right now, back to the Carolina Panthers, is a signal caller in the draft in the future for Carolina, LaMarcus.
Carolina Panthers, they definitely need a guy that's able to carry a load and lead a team. They need a natural born leader for sure. They need a natural born leader because they have a young team and very delicate, right? Very delicate for sure. So definitely.
I don't think there's signal callers in this draft. It all depends on if they use their first round pick on one, but later in the draft, no. I think Teddy Bridgewater will just have to make just do it for another year until they can find somebody. And I don't think you can find that hidden gem in the rounds.
I mean, you did have some drafts putting Justin Fields falling to 9 for Carolina. I don't think he lasts past maybe 5 or 6 for Justin Fields. But a project quarterback that we were talking over here, like Kellen Mond, could be a possible fix for Carolina in terms of a development project.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think the biggest need that Carolina has, I think they definitely need more defense. Because when you look at it, they drafted Derek Brown last year. Luke Kuechly retired, and that's pretty much, that was the heart and soul of their defense. They missed that signal caller. So they could possibly look, for a guy like a KJ Bridgewater, like a really good day, a Riley Cole, somebody who could definitely, not match, Luke Kuechly, not like in the production department, but just, that leader on the field, somebody who's going to be a tone setter, somebody who's just going to, make that play to get everybody on the defense going.
Jack, could someone like Jabril Cox or Justin Hiller maybe fit that role that Chris is talking about?
Yeah, I think Jabril Cox is somebody I'm really high on. He's a very good coverage linebacker, something that Luke Kuechly was very, very good at and known for in his playing time. But I just don't see them going defense if they're going to draft a quarter. I just don't see them going defense at 8 again, or 9 again. I forgot exactly where they're
9.
9. I just don't see them going defense again. They went defense their entire draft last year. Entire draft. They did not draft a single offensive player. So, and I was looking up the Teddy Bridgewater contract, and in 2022, they're able to cut him and have only a dead cap of $5 million. So if they wanted to draft a guy today or this year and keep it and have a project throughout the entire time, Kellen Mond would be that great project guy. He played on their team today. And I think that would be a good choice. But if they're going to go quarterback, you got to go a quarterback at 9 if there is one. But I just don't see them. I don't see them drafting a quarterback early this year with the Teddy Bridgewater contract they have. If they do anything, it's going to be through free agency or through trade.
Well, Marcus, when Jeremy Chin having displayed kind of basically defensive rookie of the year for the Panthers last year, that secondary still needs a lot of work. Any DB in this class you feel like can fit that Panther system?
Man, a guy that actually didn't get to see today, Jacoby Stevens. I think Jacoby Stevens being a very versatile box safety, I think he can be a guy who can, develop into any type of guy. I think like a Michael Jennings. Guy.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we need to see him play today, but I think that's definitely a guy who could come in and fill that need for Jeremy Chin if something happens to happen or if he just needs to develop underneath him. I think that'll work out.
Well, guys, any other parting words? Any other good observations you saw today before we wrap up here?
My biggest thing is I just definitely am impressed of how the Senior Bowl went, especially during COVID. I think that the operations went very smoothly. I think the game was very enjoyable for the fans and the players, and I'm just happy a lot of guys got to showcase their abilities. And definitely want to say appreciate Jim Nagy for inviting us for sure.
Yeah, I mean, definitely also appreciate all of the media staff and everyone that allowed us to try to do our jobs as best as we could there as well. I know we talked to them after the game a couple of times. There were only like 3 or 4 of them that were putting this whole media show on for us.
Yes.
And so that was very nice of them. So I really want to give a shout out to them. And the fact that this experience even happened is just a miracle in and of itself. So that's kind of the one thing that I want to say as we head out and go back to our lives from where we came. This was just an awesome experience. I just love everything that we were able to do.
Absolutely. Once again, thank everybody at the Senior Bowl staff, and more importantly for the players. This is technically their last college game that they're going to be playing, and for some of the players who were joined up together, this is possibly the last time they're also playing alongside each other before they have to go their separate ways for the draft. So, It was a really good experience. It was a great experience for them, and I wish those guys the best of luck, heading April.
Again, one more thing that we want to give to here is to the guy behind the camera, our producer, our CEO, our fearless leader, Mr. Jerome Jones. Honestly, just a round of applause for everything he did today. Because look, guys, running a company is really difficult. Running the operations and handling so many other things and balancing all of that while on top of also handling the media and content that he does. An incredibly difficult thing. All the credit in the world to our producer slash CEO slash fearless leader, Jerome Jones. We love you and we appreciate everything you've done for us to even get us here to this point. It's really underrated how much work and how much time and how much effort it took to even get us on this couch in this place in Mobile in the first place. So again, huge thanks to our fearless leader.
Definitely 100%.
And guys, with that being said, I'm just going to wrap it up here for our coverage here of the 2021 Senior Bowl. Thank you so much for staying with us on this journey. Thank you so much for following us here on Inside the Hashes. You've been following us on our social media, which is the Facebook group, Inside the Hashes, the football group, on Instagram at Inside the Hashes, and on Twitter at Inside Hashes. And guys, you've also been following us and talking with us even on our Discord. Just type in Inside the Hashes in the search bar on Discord, and you can talk to us on any level of football, whether it's high school, college, indoor football league, arena football league, German football league, that weird fan-selected football league that Johnny Manziel's in that I don't really even understand anymore. And of course, the pro level. We want to talk football with you just as much as you want to talk about it with us. So come on and reach out to us. And also, guys, check out our website, InsideTheHashes.com, for all our blogs, video content, exclusive pictures and interviews, everything that we do for Inside the Hashes on that website. Go check it out, as well as on our YouTube channel for our broadcasting and podcasting, our long-form videos, our interviews, everything that we work so hard to bring you guys is available on our website, on our social media, and on our YouTube channel. For LaMarcus Bailey, for Jack Rapp, for Christopher Thomas, for our fearless leader, Jerome Jones, in the background. Thank you again, Jim Nagy, and everyone at the Senior Bowl for helping us do what we do. My name is Juan Pablo Guardin Camargo, and we'll see you next time.